G'day guys, thanks for joining me again in another video. Now if you saw the last video, I was talking about the fact that I'm going to install a 1000 watt inverter in the back of the Landcruiser here, so that when I'm driving I can recharge the EcoFlow Delta Max 2000 from the AC port in the inverter instead of the DC output from the cigarette lighter socket in the car. And the reason I'm doing that is because I can get basically about 1000 watts of output by going through the inverter and charge the Delta Max quite quickly, whereas if I go through the 12 volt cigarette lighter port I can only get about 120 watts of output, and realistically would take all day to charge. Now if you want to see that in more detail, what I've just explained, then just go back and watch the other video and I'll leave a link to it up here. But for today, quite straightforward, but my mission is to basically get a cable from the auxiliary battery in the front of the car to the position in the back where the Delta Max is going to live when I'm using it in the car, and that's I'm going to basically install the inverter right next to it. And so I've bought 7 meters of power cable, of battery cable, and to be honest I'm actually starting to be a little bit concerned whether that's going to be enough, because I was just sort of thinking, oh well, the car's, you know, it's got about 3 to 4 meters of distance from one point to the other. 7 meters should be plenty. But now that I've actually stopped and thought about where it's got a route down under and around, I'm slightly nervous I'm going to come up short. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually just sort of lay it out loosely along the path that I want to take it, and just make sure I'm going to have enough. This is it here. Now I bought 4 gauge cable, which is quite thick, and it's actually thicker than it needs to be. I could have got away with a 6 gauge cable for 1000 watt draw at 12 volts. 6 gauge cable will handle 100 amps at up to 10 meters, up to about 9 meters I think. So this is heavier than it needs to be, but I thought, you know what, for a little bit extra money and maybe, you know, half a kilo of extra weight, I may as well run a heavier cable, because that way in the future if I ever want to upgrade that 1000 watt inverter to a 2000 watt inverter, the cable's already big enough to do it. This cable would quite easily cope with a 2000 watt inverter. I don't actually at this point imagine I'll ever upgrade it to a 2000 watt inverter, but you know what, who knows what's coming down the track. May as well sort of prepare for the future. So let's have a look at the plan for where I'm going to take this cable. So basically this is the auxiliary battery over here, so it's essentially got to get around to this post here, around here, along. I'm going to take it across the top of the firewall there. We're going to get over to here, and then we're going to go down and right down through there, and then we're going to pick up the brake lines. So behind the chassis rail here, the brake lines come along here. See a little bit sticking out here. So I'm going to basically follow the brake lines along. I'm on the opposite side of the car to the exhaust. Obviously we don't want any heat getting near the cable. We're going to go along here down towards the back wheel, and then up through the floor, up here somewhere, up through here somewhere, along the back of these drawers, and over in that direction there, somewhere over there. I'm going to be running it in this split corrugated tube conduit, just to keep it safe, because you don't want, you know, 70 amps of 12 volt power arcing out on any metal of the car, and because it's going to be on the outside, sort of underneath there, it's going to get a few rocks and things spat at it, so that'll keep it safe. I bought this crimping pliers off of Amazon, which I've had a little bit of a play with and look pretty good. They actually came with a set of terminals as well, a little box of terminals as a pack. I'll leave a link for this in the description below if you want to pick one up from Amazon. I think it was about 58 bucks or something like that, which is not bad really. It's a pretty heavy duty solid bit of gear, and I'll give you a demonstration when we come to finish off these terminals. And also got some heat shrink. So I got a bunch of gear from SUPERCHEAP Auto, and I actually got the cable from JAYCAR, and I got the crimpers from Amazon. So I'll basically put links to all this stuff down below, including the inverter as well, and the EcoFlow Delta Max. Pretty much everything you see me use today, I'll put a link down below this video for, just in case you're interested in doing something like this yourself, you know where to go out and find the gear. The first thing I'm going to do is just actually stretch the cable out, run it along the path, and see if it's actually going to reach. stuff it all down there on the floor so that I can actually go down and run it along the ground. Oh, I'm not going to have enough of my bloody hell. It's going to get to roughly about there before it goes up inside. That won't be long enough. I'm thinking that I'm going to be about a metre short. I was originally thinking I was going to go down the driver's side of the car. So I was basically measuring it out thinking, oh well, I'm just going to go down there and up again, and I might end up still having to do that. The problem is the exhaust. I don't want to be anywhere near the exhaust because this is like the hot side of the engine. So the other option would be to go through the firewall and through the inside, potentially along the floor there. What have we got going on here? So I've actually got a cable tray there. I don't know if it'll be big enough to cope with a... Oh, you never know. There's already a cable under there. I wonder if I could fit it along there. Geez, it'd be a lot easier if I did. Because then I could just go straight up in there. I'll definitely have enough cable to go from, you know, from up here, through the flywall, down along the floor, under the carpet there, under the carpet there, up and into there. I'll definitely have enough for that. See, it's quite hollow under there, so I'll get in and rip that carpet up, and then, you know, even if it's sitting here under this spot here, that'll be okay. You like the dog here? You can tell we've got a white dog. There's actually a channel here in the floor, and this plastic capping which is sort of covers over the cables. Oh look, hair clips. No surprises there. Three daughters, you're going to find hair clips in your car. Okay, well there's our path, guys, through there, under this capping here, and up into the back there. In this side wing here, that's the wheel arch there, in the side wing I had my compressor stored, and a little inverter which I put in just to run sort of, you know, charge drone batteries and things like that, which basically was down in here next to the compressor, and I had this power board plugged into it, and then the inverter there had one of these switches, so I could switch the inverter on and off with one of these switches here. Now what I'm thinking I'm going to do, remembering that this draw system is now temporary and going to be replaced, is I'm going to take that out of there, and I'm going to install this down in here where it's out of the way, but it's not crammed in a tiny little space. There's still ventilation here that's open at the front here. There's ventilation here. There's enough airflow around there that shouldn't be a problem. Now I've got some screw points here, some points here which are screwed right into the body of the car. This is where the mounting point was for the rear seats, the rear seats that used to be in here. So I can basically earth this right here, and then I can bring the positive cable down and out through here, and all the extra cable that I'll keep it, and I'll just coil it up in here, so that when I build a new draw system, if I choose to really, this might end up getting, you know, located up here somewhere, because I'm going to build some sort of a box system up here that the EcoFlow will sit in, and I'm thinking of the gull wing on this side, so I can open it and sort of access everything in through the outside there. So I'll have some spare cable in here that I can move this around in the future. Now, the other thing was that this particular Renogy inverter has got a remote switch. So if you put this on 2 instead of 1, if you put it on 1 it just turns it on. If you put it on 2, you need to use this remote switch to turn it on. Now, must have been, I first thought I might put this under the dashboard, but there's not a long enough cable there to do that. I could extend it, of course, just a pass-through connector. So I could extend that and put it under the dashboard at some point. I'm not going to worry about that now. This is the old ashtray here, so I'm thinking I'm going to rip that out and see if I can install that in there, which would be quite handy, because then I can just easily reach that from inside the back door or inside the tailgate, and switch her on and off. Okay, there she goes. I'm trying to do this without making the hole in this grommet any bigger than it already is, just to avoid any, you know, water coming through. I might even silicone it all up once I've finished. Let's have a look inside. Now I want to actually put it into conduit once it gets to here, so I'm going to pull it all through, all the slack, and then I'm going to feed it into the conduit, and I'm going to put the conduit down in here in the gap, just so if there's any wear points on the, you know, where any tight points along the way, it doesn't wear through the cable. The conduit will protect it a bit more. So now that it's free here, I can go and feed it all through the other side. Alright, don't want to go too far because I need to leave enough here to get in around there. That's absolutely plenty, probably too much. Alright, so this is split conduit, and it is, for the record, it is 15.7 millimeters. Oh, they call it 13 mil, which is the inside diameter. This fits nicely in there like that. So that's 13 mil split conduit, 4 gauge cable. Whack a bit of tape around that, stop it slipping off. Fits quite well in there. It'll be behind the plastic cover in there. See, when Toyota does things, they plan for the future. They think about this sort of thing. I think someday someone's going to want to put a big ass battery cable in the back of this thing. Let's give them some space to do that. I don't need to go inside there because I'm going into there, aren't I? So I might just be able to go straight down like that. Let's just do that. Might hide it more later on. Okay, so here we go. There's our cable. Plenty of spare. Future relocation. Right, next job. Maybe we could take that out. Let's see if we can get that in there. Go. That. It's too good to be true, really, isn't it? Look at that. Yeah. This is me being lazy and not wanting to go and get a drill out and make a little hole first. So we just push it through. Bit of pressure. Alright. Cable comes out through here. And this all basically lives in there. Don't need all that much cable, it's quite a bit of it. It's a bit of a mess in there, but it's fine. This is a little fuse box which I put in a few years ago, which is like the first version of the back power system, which feeds into this switchboard here, the socket panel, switch panel, whatever you want to call it. All of that will get upgraded and replaced with a new draw system. Now we've got power and we've got our switch. Now this is the hole I'm going to mount the earth cable to. So I've just got to tap it in there, a thread tap. I'm just cleaning out the thread so it's, in case there's any paint on it, I want to get a nice, metal to metal connection. This is the bolt I'm going to use, stainless steel bolt, brand new one. So I'm just wanting to, it's a good solid metal part of the car. I'm not worried about that. I just want to make sure there's no paint in that thread, which might act sort of like an insulator. Yeah, it has there. See how the thread's nice and clean? That's what it was like before, like that one. And now it's nice and raw metal. Alright, let's make sure the lug's actually going to fit over the post there. It does. Now the idea with these, and I'm telling you this not from experience, just from doing some homework, is they want to just fit over the copper of the cable, so that when you crimp it down, it's nice and tight around the cable. If it's too loose when you put it on there, it's not likely to crimp down tight enough to actually get a good bite on the cable. So it's going to be about there. Try not to cut the actual metal copper underneath. I'm trying to twist it off so it actually puts a bit of twist in the copper underneath it on the way out. Alright, so that is it's a 25. Now the way these things work is they're adjustable. You dial in the teeth in there, so you basically change these things here and get it to the 25 mark. Try and do it so you can see what I'm doing here. So it's on 50. There we go, there's 25. Do the same on this side. 25. I'm sure you auto sparkies out there are laughing your head off right now, saying that's not how you do it. Let's see what happens here, eh? Oh, felt good. Let's see. Haha, no good. Maybe it needs to be a tighter crimp. Alright, well, it's definitely biting onto the cable now. I may have crimped it too tight, which is quite a possibility, but I'm not sure that that's going to be a problem because it's all still in there. So I reckon that's going to be alright. It's definitely not coming off. So now we'll heat shrink this one. Well, I don't think it would win a beauty competition, but it's basically going to do the job. Now I won't attach it yet because we don't want to send juice up to the other end yet, but that's basically good to go. Two down. So yeah, not bad set of crunchy pliers there, do the job. Not bad for the price, 58 bucks I think they were from memory. But yeah, if you want to get a set of these from Amazon, just check the link down under here, under this video, and I'll show you which ones I chose. There's quite a lot that look like this, and I don't know if this is the best one or not, but seem to be the best value, and so far quite happy doing the job. Now guys, I've actually screwed the inverter to the bottom of the side cover here, so it'll be hanging upside down under that cover when it's installed, but I actually forgot to hit record on the camera when I did it. Now don't worry, that sound you can hear in the background is actually my neighbour's leaf blower. It's not the actual inverter firing up here. Okay, that is tight. Nice and tight. Okay, we are all good at this end. Alright, so now we should be getting alternator grade current down here. So there's plenty of voltage. Okay, so I've dropped it down to 800 watts on the custom port. If you're charging from the mains AC, the EcoFlow Delta Max can draw up to 2000 watts of power, so it can fully charge in less than 2 hours. It also has a feature that allows you to dial in the amount of power that you want the AC port to draw, so you can match it to your inverter's output, which is what I'm doing here in the app. Flicker on. Alright, it's firing up. So we're up around 770, 775. Look, at the end of the day, if I can get a sustained 750 to 800, that's fine. I'm perfectly happy with that. Would only take a few hours to recharge it from sort of, 20% up. I'll give it about 10-15 minutes and then we'll see what happens. Alrighty, well, it's about 10 minutes later and it's still running, and we are at 99% with 11 minutes to go. It's been sitting there for quite a while. Obviously the charge rate slows down as it approaches 100%, and it sort of closes in on that 100% very slowly. The fan on the inverter came on a couple of times, just briefly. It's warm, it's not hot. Just checking the cable down here. The earth cable is barely perceptibly warmer than you'd expect it to be, like slightly warm. The earth point on where it's connected to the car there is again not, I mean you can notice it's a little bit warmer than it would be if it wasn't switched on, but certainly nothing to be concerned about. And it hasn't stopped, so that's good. It's basically, at this stage, it's working. So guys, I'm going to call it a day on this video now. I'm pretty happy that that's working okay, and obviously it's going to get a decent road test when I go and out do a sort of a multi-night camping trip soon. That'll be a good test for using the battery during the night, recharging it during the day as I'm driving to the next camp. That'll be sort of a real world test for it, but in theory I think it's basically set up right, and I'll just keep the charging rate at a maximum of 800 watts, and that's fine. That should go from sort of 20% to 100% in only a few hours. But yeah, thanks for joining me, guys. I hope you've got something out of this. If you have, give it a like, and if you want to see more from me, then hit subscribe, and I'll see you in another video very soon.